Poonacha, I'm happy that you're here.
I'm glad to be here, Sigmar.
Yeah, to do our little chat and podcast. Before I tell you more about Poonacha and how we know each other and why our life paths is crossed and why we do projects together, I would like to tune real quick.
Let's do it.
To raise the frequency, right?
Absolutely, why not?
That's the whole trick.
Love it.
Yeah.
Does it all every time. You know?
Yeah,
I like it.
You know, we started doing it in company meeting. It's just like a good thing.
I tell people all the time, you know, the biggest friend, your best friend is your breath.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And people sometimes forget how to breathe.
Yeah.
And what I love about this, it gets you to breathe, right? And reminds you to get in touch with yourself. And it does a lot of amazing things too, other than that, but just reminding yourself of your breath, the one friend you have from the time you're born till the time you die.
Yeah.
And mastering your breath. That's what I love the Lovetuner.
And we are happy to introduce her now because Poonacha Machaiah is a social entrepreneur. He calls himself the Ambassador of Wellbeing, and I was happy to be invited to one of his amazing events. And it's just beautiful to see how one person makes his life mission about serving other people, giving them perspectives and showing other ways of life, a new lifestyle perhaps. But I think the most important thing is that he tells why he's doing it and what is behind it. You know, who is Poonacha? And we can take this to a very philosophical level, but what is your deal? You know, why are you doing it?
First of all, thank you for today. I think it gives me an opportunity to kind of have an intimate conversation with you. But why do I do what I do? So I think one is, you know, my journey over the last 49 years, I've stood on the shoulders of many great men, many great leaders. But one of the persons who had an amazing impact on life is Deepak Chopra. You know, we both know him well. And I think together there's one sentence which has pretty much become the mission of my life. Right? Every morning I get up and say, how do we reach people to create a joyful, energetic body, a loving, compassionate heart, a reflective and alert mind, and lightness of being. Right? So everybody, if we can do that every day and bring that joy to people, then I think we're going to make a difference. Changing the story from what I call net worth to self-worth. Right? What is my self-worth? And how do you bring well-being? I mean, that's really become, I think, the life mission. How do you bring well-being to people's lives? And I think that's been kind of my journey from starting off as a technologist, an entrepreneur, and now looking back and saying, what is that I want to give back to the world? And that motivates me every day.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see this. But what do you think is really happening now in the society? Do you think it's a kind of a fashion statement to be mindful? Or is it really, because I know the answer, but I want to have it for our clients and for our people that are listening. What is really the thing? Is it, because mindfulness changes people, obviously. But what do you think in our society is really the purpose why people are doing it? Do you think they're really aware of that there's no other way out? Or are they doing it kind of, yeah, everybody does it, let's be a little bit mindful, and how sustainable is their mindfulness?
I think it's a double-edged, I think it's an interesting question, right? One, I think it's really cool to say I'm mindful. In fact, I think if you say you're not mindful and not practicing meditation, you probably can't go on a date anymore. Like, you know, so everybody is meditating. So they were medicating before, now they're meditating. But if you really ask the question of mindfulness, is it mindfulness or is it mind emptiness, right? In fact, it's not, you really don't want to be mindful, you want to be mind empty, right? You want to kind of, when you observe your thoughts, you want to kind of really get into this concept of nothingness when you're completely in touch with yourself, right? So I don't know, I'm not one into apps. Even though I'm a technologist, I've built technology. I don't think mindfulness is reaching to an app. Right? In fact, I don't think mindfulness is listening to a device telling you birds chirping that you're now reached a state of mindfulness. Right? It's about getting in touch with your intimate self, right? And the sense of space where you are comfortable being alone, but not lonely, right? People are really scared to get to hear themselves. That's why they're going to fill themselves with a lot of stuff, right? And I think what we really want to get to is to really get in touch with your intimate self. So answer to your question, I think mindfulness is kind of the zeitgeist right now. Everybody talks about it. But truly, can people sit down for 30 minutes and do nothing? I don't know. People ask me, can I meditate with you? I said, sure. Let's sit down for 30 minutes in silence. I think it freaks them out, right?
I mean, me and you, we did an exercise a year ago with this Russian healer, and we had to sit for 2 hours. You remember this? And open our chakras.
Right here.
And we've been doing it right here.
Right.
And the interesting part was there have been some people there where it felt real long for them. I mean, it feels for everybody long as you think in time. When you reach the thing after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then 2 hours doesn't matter, a week doesn't matter. But what do you think, what is this where people are so scared of? Like to go deeper in there, because when they recognize, there's really another world out there besides money and getting some girls or getting some good-looking guys or whatever you're targeting. But what is it really what they're scared of to make the next step into?
Interesting question. So Krishnamurti, the philosopher, Jiddu Krishnamurti, had one sentence. Which kind of changed my life too. He says comparison and conformity lead to conflict. A mind without conflict is a spiritual mind, right? So we grow up with these stories, right? Of what is successful. I'm a 49-year-old Indian male, my Indian, so I should do this, my bank balance should be that. This is what's a typical definition of success, right? And what we do, we try to build a story around it. Or in fact, it's even worse. The story is already told what you should be, and we try to conform to it.
For sure.
And when we try to conform to the story, we are then stressed out. We might never get to that, whatever the ending is, and then you're kind of miserable. So I think we become victims of the stories we are told, right? I mean, imagine if you were born to say that you are not white, you're not black, you're not Indian, or anything. You are just a citizen of the universe. It'll be beautiful. When I was born, they gave me a name, Poonacha Machaiah. You said, I'm from Coorg, I'm Indian, and for the rest of the life, you're screwed. Right? Because you're trying to be that, right? But if I was basically embraced, and there would be no, I would say, stress. I think the biggest challenge we kind of live a story which has been defined by society, not living your story. So the four soul questions which Deepak talks about: who am I? What is my purpose? Right? What am I grateful for? These are important questions, right? We don't talk about it, but who am I is the most fundamental. Who am I before my conditioning? Right?
Sure.
And that's really the question.
So what do you think when you look at all the knowledge that we have already over so many years, like over years we have been educated in breathing, we have been educated in different styles of self-motivation, whatever the coaches which are out there. What do you think, why is it so hard to gather this group which is willing to to make the next step? Why is it so hard to gather them? Why have so many people so different angles towards it, and it cannot be one hub that comforts those people? Because for people who don't, let's call it in a way, who don't give a fuck, there's always a hub out there, know. But for the people who really care, it gets very limited, and it gets right away. It goes either into church, or it goes into charity, or it goes into personal, growth, or.
It's we are conditioned for somebody to help you, right? So if I tell you, like, this is the way to salvation or nirvana, give it to me, right? If this is a way for you to reach your goals, give it to me. What if I told you truth is a pathless land? You have to find your own truth. Nobody can help you, right? That means you got to do your own homework and find that answer. Now that's not an answer most people don't want, right? Because people want you to give you like a dummy's guide. Give me the dummy's guide to Ayurveda. Give me the dummy's guide to meditation. Give me the dummy's guide to making money. But if I tell you, you got to do the work, then people don't want to hear that, right? So I think that's really the challenge, right? People want a quick fix. And if somebody comes along and tells you, by the way, if you can follow this, I think you can get there, then the people are just going to follow that, right? And it's easy. What we are trying to say is that you have to do the work, right? If you look at well-being, there are 10 areas to well-being, right? Wellness and well-being are two different things. Wellness, well-being is intention, mind-body connection, movement, nutrition, sleep, eliminating toxicity, people, substance and place, love and relationships, creativity and a youthful mind, career and finance, connection with community and nature. When all these 10 things come together, you have well-being in your life, right? That's a lot of work. You have to work at it.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's really where I think, but that is definitely a more 100% we have to get to happiness versus just following something blindly, right? But it's easy to follow something blindly.
But you think, what my opinion always was is like, and I compare this even with sports, it comes down to your own personal discipline, right?
Right.
And nobody will do your extra mileage. You have to do it on your own.
Yeah, you work out, and for you, if you don't put in the effort in the gym, nobody else can give you the muscle, right? You can't really, I would say, quick fix it on or bolt it on. You have to do the work. No pain, no gain. And the same thing, I mean, people want liberation, but if I gave you a magic pill today, it's very, very interesting. People do the whole thing about microdosing. It's a big trend right now, right? Because there's a book which came out called Stealing Fire by Jamie Wheal and Stephen Kotler, and now it's a big thing for high peak performance. And everybody wants to think like, if I can do ayahuasca, or if I can do one of these DMT trips, I'll find liberation. What if when at the end of the road, when you find liberation, it's nothingness? Then what happens? Right? You'll be disappointed. Right? So I think it's a journey which is more important than the destination.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, we are big believers in the journey, and this is like, if you call it this way, like, this is why our journey also, like, you know, always interfere, and we always like, sometimes we're exactly on the same path, then we go this way, but it's always one thing, and this is like a positive energy, a positive vibration towards life in general.
But I want to ask you about your journey. I think I was kind of I'm fascinated by it too, right? Because you started off in Austria, you started off in fashion, photography, architecture, then you came into LA, into photography, and now then you did the Lovetuner. So you kind of, I would say, like a Renaissance man, right? Because you have done multiple things. So what makes you tick?
You know, the funny thing is, like, I mean, architecture was kind of out there because for me it was not possible to study art. You know, nobody in my family would have you know, wanted an artist. Architect is something that is more serious, and this is why I did it, and I was good at it, and I like the story about it, and I like to create. Then fashion happened on accident, more or less, or we got successful with it. But the funny thing is, I always had the longing, I would say, you know, to do really something outstanding. And the Lovetuner came my way on accident, you know the story. And then when I decided to do it, and when I saw the power of the frequency, it was a very clear thing, but everything was kind of blurry. And it was really the journey that actually like carved out what the beauty of it is. And what we are having right now is this feedback of people. And when you ask somebody, who are you, why are you doing it, the funny thing is, I'm doing it because I cannot even imagine doing something else. It's like, it's like, if you would tell me you are the best artist in the world right now, would you take it? I would say no, because I'm gonna make a lot of people happy with my art, but what we have gotten feedback from Lovetuner and also people we work with, is just something what is so much more satisfying. And this is like, I think maybe I'm good at it, what I'm doing, because I never learned it. You know, I still use my wording that I always used. I don't fake anything. It's like the Lovetuner is what it is because it's a divine frequency. It's an amazing, cool tool. What you just said, it's the breathing. So, and it doesn't literally need me as the person. I'm more or less just the bus driver, as a lot of other people who are involved are bus drivers, and this is what makes us literally happy.
I think people find their own creative way to express themselves. I always watch people when they use Lovetuner in different settings, and everybody has their own creative expression of how they use it, which I think is, so you're teaching people how to fish, not giving them the fish.
Exactly.
So they use that as a tool to explore themselves. I think that's all we can do in the end, right? At the end of the day, you give people a path to find their own way to well-being. Right?
But when we come to the point that we obviously want to raise the frequency in the world, we want to give people tools or at least ideas, and then they have to walk the way themselves. But there are also stuff out there where really people can help, and
Right.
especially I would like to mention your awareness program that you do
Right.
with Deepak
Right.
about suicide awareness,
Right.
what is absolutely completely forgotten, especially in a beautiful country and where people have a lot of money, and they call it still the #1 country in the world.
Right.
But we have such a high suicide rate. Why is this? And what can we do? Not only you or Deepak.
Right.
What can a single person do? You know.
I always say that we are super connected, but very lonely.
Yeah.
The world doesn't need Tinder, it needs tender.
Okay.
Right? There's enough Tinder in the world. There's no tenderness, right?
Yeah.
And I think today, the statistics are like mind-blowing, right? Every 40 seconds in the world, somebody commits suicide.
Wow.
In this country, every 12 minutes. In a 1-hour podcast, you know what? There are more than 10 people, almost like 6 people will commit suicide, right? So
crazy.
that's like, this is the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah.
Every day, I think 22 veterans commit suicide in this country.
Mm.
So we got to do something about it.
Yeah.
And I think what we can do about it is really creating communities,
Mm.
right? This is what used to happen. People used to sit around. Like in India, if you're upset, they'll say, let's go have a cup of tea, right? Over here, we would have community centers.
Yeah, yeah.
But today, everything's life is on the go, right? Nobody even sits down and has dinner together or has a conversation, kind of watching each other. There's basically, we are able to see what's happening in somebody else's life. Today, when you basically put everything into technology, there's absolutely disconnection, right? When people say, hey, how are you doing? It's great. But if you actually say, life sucks today, they don't want to stop. They're like, oh, really? Okay. So creating authentic communication, authentic conversation, and that's really become one of our goals with Never Alone, is to really say that you're never alone, right? You already have somebody. And I think that's really been our goal today. And this is not just a US problem, it's a global problem, right?
Yeah.
There are countries out there where the elderly want to commit suicide because they don't want to be a burden on their children, right?
Sure,
It's a social problem.
Yeah.
And it's we as a civilization have to do something about it. And I think that's something which we believe that I want to hang my hat for the rest of my life, is to say that how do we create communities of well-being? And that's why I think we both talk all the time, that you want to bring people together in this cohort and a community. So things have to be online and offline. It's online is great. It's great to connect. I see friends on Facebook, but that cannot be the only place where I meet people. We have to have connections.
For sure.
We see that in schools today with bullying and things like that, because people are feeling isolated, and we need to create communities.
And what would you think? Does it need to be organized from schools? Does it need organized from the government, that we have awareness programs? Or do you think it needs to be first awareness? Because I believe that a lot of people don't even know that suicide is such a big thing in the United States or worldwide.
Yeah, when I say it's every 40 seconds, I'm like, really? Every 40 seconds? Every 12 minutes in this country? I'm like, this statistics is huge, right? And I think change is from every person. Be the change you want to see in the world, right? Be the change you want to be in the world. So I think it starts with you and me, everybody, right? And then it becomes a groundswell movement. I don't think we can now wait for a community or a university or a government. I think we say, okay, let me, take the first step, right? To see. So people say, what can I do? There's an acronym I use, and it's a military uses it. Acronym is PATH WARM. I is for ideation, S is for substance abuse, P is for purpose, A is for anxiety, T is for trust, H is for hopelessness, W is for withdrawn, A is for anger, R is for remorse, right? And then M is for mood change. And if you can watch, or R is for recklessness. When you look at these signs, we can then say something is going on. But today, we don't even hang out with people to see what's happening. Right? So if we really had the social connection, then we could see these signs. Right? And that's all we want to do today. Right? Just connect people, have conversation. Bring them together. Right?
And what would you do if you could share your wisdom?
Right.
Where do you actually bring it, where it's like suicidal prevention meetings and so on? Where would you go first?
Right now, I think we are rather looking at schools, universities right now. Right?
Okay.
I go back and say they are the people who are the next generation.
Absolutely.
Right? And if they can change, they can look what's happening in climate change. Right? A kid is basically getting the world to talk. Right? And if we can now
to come all the way from Sweden.
and everybody's like, whoa. I really maybe this is, I say like our generation is we kind of done,
Yeah.
but I look at the children and,
Yeah.
and I think they can change the world.
Yeah.
They're looking at this whole economy as not about consumption, it's about shared economy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would never have thought when I came to this country in 1991 that I would be getting into a car and not even worrying about somebody charging my card, Uber, or going and renting a house and people just being able to share their house, Airbnb.
Yeah.
So there's this concept of shared economy where
Yeah.
people are no longer thinking about owning but about having an experience. And I say, so we're starting with schools,
Yeah.
starting with
Yeah.
then starting into communities,
Mhm.
then going into corporations,
Yeah.
then going into the government system.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to start initially in the community.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's how you call it, root.
Yeah, grassroots
Grassroots movement,
Grassroots
yeah,
movement,
yeah.
The conversation me and you had, and maybe there's one person listens to us and says, I'm just going to maybe just be more mindful of my conversation with people.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just going to be more, ask them more questions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And really listen.
Yeah.
Right? People don't listen anymore also.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is absolutely. I mean, nobody listens,
Yeah,
but
so
it's
that's-
also like, I mean, even since we are working together, when I had the first interview with Deepak
Right.
regarding Lovetuner back
Right.
then, I remember we talked about the intention span,
Right.
and this is like 3 years ago, and now the intention span is not even 2 minutes anymore. It's like
Yeah.
a minute or minute and a half. It's
Right.
like it's like unbelievable, and people are not processing information faster. Like they are not processing it at all anymore. You
If
know?
you think about Instagram, right? If you're more than a minute, forget about it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It just gives you a 1 minute shut
Yeah,
off, right?
yeah.
So this concept of just being,
Yeah.
not doing,
Yeah.
is a big problem.
Yeah.
We're always doing, not being.
Yeah.
Be a human being before human doing,
Yeah.
right? So this concept of just being with yourself and just being comfortable who you are,
Yeah.
enjoying the silence is a very hard thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first step.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at children right now, or teenagers,
Right.
whatever, when it comes to gaming, whatever they do, and back in the days when we have been teenagers,
Right.
it was TV where people talked about don't watch too much TV.
Right.
I mean, now they have in the first 2 hours more information than if you would watch 24 hours TV.
Right.
And is it a constant over-entertainment?
I think it's overstimulation for sure.
yeah.
Also, I think what happens is that when we were growing up, there was bump and grind. You went
Yeah.
there, you still have 10 toes and 10 fingers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So learning literally to kind of survive, and there's a big movement right now about walking bare feet, right? Connecting back to nature.
Yeah, you're talking to the right person.
Yeah, like everybody is connecting.
Yeah.
Rumi says God's language is silence,
Yeah.
everything else is poor translation.
Yeah.
I would say God's language is silence and nature.
Yeah,
Everything else is poor
absolutely,
translation.
absolutely.
If you do not connect with nature,
Yeah.
inherently you're going to lose something.
Yeah.
And I really believe that fundamentally technology is neutral.
Yeah.
How we use technology is important. But
Absolutely.
today what's happening is that because of helicopter parenting, we just stick an iPad in front of the kid. Because we don't want the kid to kind of really cry or whatever. Eventually that becomes just the default mode of operation.
Yeah.
And I really believe that we have to be more conscious about everything we do,
Yeah.
right? Whether we're even building games or technology,
Yeah.
why? So it's like conscious technology,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when you're building something, what is the ethos?
Yeah.
Right? When I'm looking at this, there's an ethos of why this was built, right? When I look at Tinder, I don't know, I disagree with it. When you can swipe left and swipe right and just dismiss a person in 2 dimension,
Yeah.
there's something which happens in that, right?
Yeah.
Would anybody want to be dismissed, right? So I think there's an intention we got to set with everything we do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I don't know the intention of gaming, what the real intention of the creator is, right?
To make money.
So then what is the outcome, right? So that's really that's what's happening.
yeah.
So I think it's time for us to have a conversation about conscious use of technology and products, right? So that's really conscious business,
Yeah.
Conscious capitalism.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big movement happening already.
For sure,
right?
absolutely. And I mean, this is like conscious capitalism. I mean, I think that's the absolutely key.
Right.
And when you look at some big entrepreneurs, they're way far ahead what
Right.
governments are doing.
Right.
They're like, they're creating amazing workspaces for their people.
Right.
They have already meditation.
Right.
And people who work for these corporations are better off if they would be in a government program.
Absolutely. I think this, I know Paul Tudor Jones,
Yeah.
is really doing a bunch of work in conscious capitalism
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Wall Street. I
yeah.
think that's like the first step, right? So Sigmar, one of the things we can also talk about when we talk about things like well-being, right?
Yeah.
Companies are doing an amazing job too. I think today corporations should not look at their employees as disposable assets, right? And companies need to really start thinking about how do I engage them? How do I make my employees more engaged, which means more happy, right?
Yeah.
And I think there is completely a movement towards corporate well-being,
Yeah.
right? I think that's an opportunity for us. How do we take this conversation of well-being, which is in the community, into the corporation?
Yeah.
Not looking at the bottom line just in the pure, like what is my return from the stock market,
Yeah.
what is my return on investment on an employee, right? And increasing the happiness and engagement,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we did with Lovetuner some programs already with mindfulness because it's such a simple tool.
Right.
You don't have no education about meditation. You don't need to know about yoga.
Right.
You can bring managers together in a room, give them a Lovetuner, they do a breathing exercise, they all connect. So we have seen this that it's very beneficial for people. What would you think in the long run? Will it be something like the kids go to school and they have the national anthem? Will there be something in corporations where they just connect?
You know, I really think we need to do that, right? I don't think they do it. Today, I think when you get into a meeting, imagine sitting down and saying, what is the intention?
Yeah.
What is the purpose? In fact, a lot of people today say, I don't want to go to a meeting, right?
Sure,
Because,
yeah.
in fact, people do walking meetings.
Yeah.
I think there will be a time when people will say, let us ground the intention of this meeting. And the love tuning could be a way to set an intention, to get the coherence,
Yeah,
the group
yeah,
coherence,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We talk about flow,
Yeah.
right? How do I get 10 people in a meeting to be in a state of flow,
Yeah.
right? And this could be a very interesting tool, right? People have used prayer as a way to get coherence.
Yeah.
And what happens when people are in a state of flow? The selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness of experience. No longer I'm in a boring meeting. Time, the concept of time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So if we can use love tuning
Yeah.
as a way to get people into a state of flow,
Yeah.
then I think meetings will be more productive,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So if I can get into a meeting and irrespective of the drive I had to LA, if I could just ground myself with my breath, connect, and then have a very productive 30-minute meeting,
Yeah.
it could be a great tool.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to do one more thing because your new awareness when it comes to suicide prevention, I think this is so important.
Right.
And I know that you brought Gabriella.
Right.
I think we should have a sit here real quick
Right.
and give a message to the audience too.
I think we should. We should
Yeah.
definitely get her, I think before the conversation ends, to share her reason why she's doing Never
Absolutely.
Alone,
I
right?
think she should make the end of our podcast and our conversation.
Absolutely. Love
Let's
that.
do this.
Love that, yeah.
So we are welcoming Gabriella Wright, actress, activist, and great personality.
I think the podcast just got interesting now.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. You know, I mean,
what the hell, you know?
you know what's gonna happen on this podcast?
Now it's just
Everybody gonna play forward
Yeah.
till Gabriella comes in and
that's
says,
like,
"Why
no.
did I listen to these two boring guys for half an hour? Now it's a beautiful lady here." You know, I mean, classic, right?
Why does she do what she does?
Well, you know, you just walk into an energy field,
Yeah.
and then you have these two beautiful masculine entities who are there supporting well-being, and you just happen to sit between them.
Go
So,
with
you
the
know,
flow. There you
this
go.
is the flow, you're in the flow, you're creating communities, and this is a little community here.
Nice.
So, yes. So it's lovely to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In your
Tell us a
beautiful
little bit
space.
more about your project, movement.
Okay, the movement. So Never Alone. Never Alone is a grassroots project. It's a movement because we're always moving, and we need to feel that we're all connected by love, by a community. So it's an attempt to create a worldwide family to prevent and address suicide and mental health, because isolation is not just physical, it's a mindset. So it's a way of addressing the mindset, it's a way of shifting the mindset in a beautiful, natural way with your solutions. Everyone has a solution, everyone has a way, and it's really to bring every way, every path together so that we can truly experience oneness and not feel alone. So to illustrate that and to support the movement, we've finally completed finance on the film. So it's a narrative, docu-narrative, where I play a mother who loses her son, because I think the most extreme pain that happens if you experience suicide, it's not just suicide of one person, it's the suicide of a whole community, family, and it takes a lot of time for people to heal, and often that results in family, there are family patterns where 2 or 3 people jump off the cliff because of one tragedy in the family. So it's a way of illustrating what life and death is about, how to find solutions, and also address questions, because we all have questions and we attempt to answer them in this film. And we hope that this film, that is called I Am Never Alone, so the mother is never alone, she realizes that. She meets Deepak Chopra and beautiful people along the way to address in reality what we truly need. And it's a journey, because life is that journey.
And also, answer to your question before, Sigmar, is that we are starting off with universities, schools, colleges,
Exactly.
really where we think we need this the most, and then take it into communities. I think we're super excited about it. Right?
It's very exciting because there's already a lot of pull, there's already a lot of demand. People feel that they need to be connected to one another with their own voices. So we're really giving a platform for people to express themselves, to be heard, and to be healed, really, in their own time.
And I think there are 3 things we look at for any platform, right, or any movement: authenticity, integrity, and higher purpose, right? And I know from a Gabriella's perspective, I think she has her own personal story. I mean, I think that's where it comes from, a lot of integrity, right, when we decided to do this movement.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what touched me when you shared this story with us, and I think maybe you should share it, really, because this makes people listen, and this what people can identify with. I think a lot of people had similar traumas, and it should not be only a shared pain, it should be also shared wisdom, and so that other people might be lucky to prevent this in their families.
Completely. Well, I was my little sister, my dear little sister, who is an incredible artist. I'm using the word in the present tense because a soul is immortal. So her soul is immortal and completely behind this movement. And it's through her passing and her suicide through a manic phase and depression and being alone at a time where, despite all of our efforts, family, precaution, she happened to be physically alone during a couple of hours in the middle of the night that basically took her to the other world. But now, because of that, this movement was born, because it's healing me. It's healing myself, it's healing my family. I'm also a mother, so it allows a voice, a hidden voice, to be listened to. And I think pain is something that, if you don't share it, there's no distinction. Exactly. And the distinction allows you to let go. It's just a simple, all of a sudden I'm breathing, all of a sudden I feel my family's breathing, and my tears exist, but they are replenishing an ocean.
Yeah. Right. It's so beautiful that you share this, and that you bring so much purpose to the thing. And
Thank you.
I wish you all the best for the movie too.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing awareness to us, because it's everyone, right? We've all been affected by death, and let alone we all know there's someone who has passed away in circumstances that we could have prevented if we knew.
I think depression and mental health is the crisis of our times. Right?
Yeah.
So we have to do something about it. So that's why well-being is no longer optional, right? It's almost hygiene.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
you're right.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely.
Great. Thank you, guys.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
for
you.
coming up to the
Thank you,
Lovetuner Ranch.
We love this match. There's a lot of things happening here. We're tuning.